So, the story is told, a man goes to see his rabbi in an absolute state of panic. He gets to the rabbi's office, he tells the rabbi, "Rabbi, you'll never believe what happened to me, this terrible thing that happened to me. My son has run away from home and become a Christian. For 30 years he's a Jew, and now, bam, he says he's a Christian." The rabbi responded, "Well, you'll never believe what happened to me. My son also ran away. He also left the fold. He also became a Christian." So the man asks the rabbi, well, what are we going to do about it? The rabbi answers, "We're Jews. What else can we do? We go, we pray. Let's go into the sanctuary together. We'll pray to God." So they go into the sanctuary. They start praying. They pray with all their might. They pour out their disappointment. They pray for guidance. And a miracle happens. God answers them and says, "You'll never believe what happened to me." My work is done here. So all of us, no matter how blessed or how challenged we are, we all face disappointments of different kinds in life. Some of us had dreams that our children would be perfect little human beings who would grow up to be exactly like us, would cherish the same values that we held dear in our lives. We thought they would honor their parents like we honored our parents, or at least they would visit regularly and make a phone call every now and then, not just when they needed us to write a check or something, and it didn't always work out that way. We dreamed that by now the world would be a more peaceful place than it is, certainly more peaceful than it turned out to be right now. War still rages on in many places in the globe, including Ukraine, a country that's absolutely filled with Jewish history, where many of our ancestors, our grandparents, parents, great-grandparents came from. Many of us had dreams that we would achieve the very best that this life has to offer, that we would never have any struggles, we'd never have any worries, and of course, life does not always work out that way. As a newly minted rabbi 35 years ago, I dreamed that I would serve one of the largest congregations in North America, or that Beth Shalom would at least become the greatest synagogue in Atlanta, which of course it is. I dreamed not just a few weeks ago that I would win the $1.5 billion lottery jackpot and endow the synagogue in perpetuity. Well, that was a disappointment. I hope by now that Israel would finally be secure and at peace with its neighbors. It certainly made great strides over the decades, but Israel has a great deal more work to be done. I also hope that I would marry the most perfect, thoughtful, beautiful, and loving woman in the entire world. So was the dream. And of course I did, yes. But for many of us, life can be filled with disappointments. Henry David Thoreau said it best when he said, "The youth gets together as materials to build a bridge to the moon, or perchance a palace or temple on the earth. And alas, the middle-aged man concludes to build a woodshed with them." If we live long enough, we are all going to encounter struggles, disappointment. We're all going to experience hurt and loss. We're going to be disappointed. A rabbi once said that the way he decides what he's going to talk about during the high holidays, he says, "When I go to the doctor asks me, where does it hurt? So as Rosh Hashanah approaches, I ask myself, where does it hurt?" So let me speak about some of the things in this world, maybe in our lives, that have hurt us and that disappoint us today. Technology, first of all, which has made our lives better in so many ways, has turned out to be a source, if not a great amplifier, of the many things that are wrong in the world today. The result has been facing the challenges posed by rising rates of isolation, people living virtual lives instead of real lives. A free open internet is indeed a wonderful thing, but along with that has come pornography, hate, social media amplifying every lunatic fringe out there. David Zvi Kalman, a fellow at the Shalom Hartman Institute, wrote this regarding the way we passively accept many potential harmful innovations. There's a new technology in town, he writes. A few years ago, it seemed like a pipe dream, but it's now arrived on the commercial market in a big way. Large corporations line up to use it, even as watchdogs point out the serious potential for abuse. Reporters look into it, agree that there's a problem, and pen dozens of articles fretting about the downsides, demanding regulation, or if at least, responsible use of this technology. The public grows concerned, and then they grow resigned, and meanwhile the technology gets adopted. We're seeing that with chatbots and AI, which is doing a lot of nefarious things, inflaming the public. But we haven't figured out a way to control it yet. We let the genie out of the bottle. Sometimes it's regulated well, often it's not. There's a few horror stories, we learn to live with it, we move on. And this is the ethical cycle of modern technology. And its major problem is that it doesn't know how to distinguish between technologies that complicate morality and those that destroy it. And we're seeing this really play out over and over. Another great disappointment is many of us really thought, when we grew up, folks my age, we didn't see anti-Semitism as children very much. I saw it a little bit in Buffalo, New York when I was a kid, but nothing like it is today. So what a colossal disappointment that has become. Seeing how it's come out of the shadows and sprung back to life. The technology of social media, which can bring people together in so many wonderful ways, has also made real hate spread faster than ever before. This past week, you may know Elon Musk, who took over Twitter, decided that it was not going to be moderated like it was because free speech trumps everything. He basically let it become a cesspool of hate. And he decided to blame and actually threatened to sue the ADL, which you probably read about in the news this past week. He tweeted, or X'd, I don't know what you're supposed to use now, changing the name from Twitter to X. I mean, that in itself, brilliant business mind, I don't get it. But he tweeted that ADL's oversensitivity to anti-Semitism is what is responsible for creating more anti-Semitism. And I saw a response to that tweet that I thought was perfect, which said, blaming Jews for anti-Semitism is pretty darn anti-Semitic all by itself. So for decades, anti-Semitism was seen as unacceptable in polite society. So while it was there, we didn't really notice it that much. But the tide has clearly changed. We see intolerance of every kind becoming more and more acceptable today. And it used to be that Jews could always band together with other targeted groups in fighting for our rights and helping them fight for their rights. But there are unfortunately growing numbers who view us as part of the privileged elite and often no longer welcome in their spaces. We see this most clearly developing in college campuses in a way that was certainly not my college experience, where Jewish students increasingly say they feel it's better to hide their Magen David, not express their Judaism publicly, openly. Sometimes, and we see many reports of professors deriding them if they support Israel. And so while campus intolerance and bias on campus is generally not tolerated, we often do see anti-Semitism getting a free pass, often in the guise of anti-Zionism. Many of us here today remember our own college years where we could be proud Jews and, Israel supporters on campus. Maybe you saw a recent report on CNN, a special report on anti-Semitism in America, The CNN reporter Dana Bash, who is Jewish, she covered several stories about the return of Jew hatred on campus. And one of the segments was about a Jewish student named Cassandra Blotner, the founding member of a support group for survivors of sexual assault. And it was called New Pulse Accountability, or NPA. She also happened to share a pro-Israel statement on her Instagram account that said, "Jews are an ethnic group who originally come from Israel, proven by genealogical, historical, and archaeological evidence." So as a result, other members of the NPA, which she founded, called for her removal because in their opinion, Zionists are not welcome in this group because Zionism is racist, white supremacist, and the Zionists promote genocide. Now, like Musk trying to sue the ADL and blame it for anti-Semitism, accusing Israel of genocide is so outlandish, you don't even really know how to respond to it. It's also, by the way, pretty hard to accuse Israel of white supremacy when the majority of Israelis are actually non-white Jews from throughout the Middle East and North Africa. There's more of them than the Ashkenazi European Jews. Israeli Arabs, we know, enjoy positions in the highest levels of every branch of government, including in the Knesset, the parliament, the executive branch, and the Supreme Court. So one thing, I had a session with the rabbis and Dr. Ken Stein from Emory just about a week and a half ago, and he said, though, one statement that stuck by me: one thing that our history has taught us as Jews is that if Jews don't hang together, we can hang separately. And that's ultimately what led the early Zionists to understand that we needed a state, a safe haven, to determine our own destiny. And imagine if Israel had actually existed in 1939, there would have been a country that would have taken in the Jews, and there wouldn't have been a Holocaust. Yet Israel, to add to my theme of disappointments, is also far from perfect. There are things that disappoint us, and I would say disappoint many Israelis as well if you watch the news. I wish Bibi and many politicians, for that matter, were less concerned about their own political fortunes and more about preserving the aspects of democracy that we hold dear. I wish Israel could ratify a constitution finally, or that extremists weren't in the government. I wish that non-Orthodox Judaism in Israel had the same support as Orthodox Judaism does, or that our conservative weddings were recognized. But here's the real important question. While we are critical of Israel sometimes, and Israelis do it all the time, do those disappointments mean that we should abandon Israel? Well, you know, there are also plenty of things that frustrate me and frustrate you, I'm sure, about America. But ask yourself this, and this also Ken Stein said, which I thought was brilliant, which is why I'm quoting it. He said, did we stop seeing ourselves as Americans on January 6th? Or when abortion was threatened? No, we were outraged. But that made us want to become more engaged as Americans, not less engaged. And so should it be when it comes to our relationship with Israel. They need to hear our voice, and we need to be engaged. I'll say this about Israel, one more thing. When you see hundreds and thousands of Israelis out every single week, month after month, protesting against the government, some hundreds of thousands at their height, protesting the judicial overhaul, we can certainly say that Israeli democracy is very much alive and well. Americans don't have nearly that same level of engagement on a whole host of issues, issues that we should care very deeply about. So despite the disappointment, I remain a proud American, and I remain a proud and concerned Zionist. Disappointment, though, does not mean me giving up on what America and what Israel should and can be. And if Jews disengage from Israel, or America for that matter, I believe we do so at our own peril. Our Israeli cousins are also an important part of the community. There's soon to be more Jews in Israel than all other countries combined in the world. That switchover is going to happen demographically not too far from now. We need to see our Israeli brothers as brothers and sisters and call it out when unfair criticism veers into anti-Semitic territory. Israel is a real nation with real problems, governed by real people, but she's also a very thriving democracy with a very healthy free press. And I should say people in China, Russia, and Iran would be envious of that kind of debate and criticism of their government if they only were aware of what happens in Israel. And some are. On Rosh Hashanah, we are really called upon first and foremost to judge ourselves and to not judge others. You know, one thing I always say about Israel, think about what American democracy was 75 years after its founding. There was slavery, women didn't have the right to vote, there was, almost a civil war about to start. I mean, this was hardly easy. So getting through democracy is challenging at times. But what we're really called upon to do on Rosh Hashanah is first and foremost to judge ourselves, not judge others. And if we can do better, then we can invite others to try and to do better as well. Then collectively, we get engaged and we try to make this world and this country a better place. Rosh Hashanah signals a new year of opportunities which await us and should never give up hope. We should never give up hope, no matter what disappointments and what troubles that we face. All of us, and I'm sure everyone in this room, we've all experienced disappointments in life. There is no family without its troubles, and I hear of them all the time. It's part of being human. Many have been touched by some of life's personal 10 plagues: family drama, lost friendships, unemployment, an unexpected change in your finances, death in the family, family illness, loneliness, betrayal, a loss of faith, and a loss of hope. But how we deal with those disappointments can make all the difference in the world. I'm reminded of a story about a couple who went to a furniture store. They went to purchase a sofa. They found one that looked interesting, and the salesman was extolling the virtues of this piece, saying, "This is an absolutely excellent sofa. It seats 5 people without any problem." The couple thought about it, came back the next day and told the salesman, "We're not going to be buying that sofa. We don't know 5 people without any problem." So we all face troubles, and despite everything we have faced as a people, and certainly as individuals, from the Crusades and the history to the Inquisition, the pogroms not that long ago, or the Holocaust, we as Jews have always held on to hope. We Jews are a people who have always kept hope alive, and it's, I think, very true to say that hope has kept the Jewish people alive. The creation of the state of Israel would never have happened were it not for hope, persistence, and never giving up. It's no coincidence that the first agricultural school, which opened up in Israel back in 1879, was called Mikveh Yisrael, which means the hope of Israel. And of course, Israel's national anthem, which we all know well, is called Hatikva, the hope, which proclaims Od lo avda tikvatenu. Our hope is still not yet lost. We still got challenges, but we still have hope. We always have to have hope. We should be proud of our history of not letting despair destroy us, and we should be proud of our connection to our fellow Jews everywhere. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, Zichrono Livracha, wrote a wonderful piece. In fact, I'm very thrilled to know that Sefaria, which is this online Jewish library, is now actually collecting all of his incredibly ingenious quotes. And he wrote this: "I am proud to be part of a people who, though scarred and traumatized, never lost their humor or their faith. Their ability to laugh at present troubles and still believe in ultimate redemption, who saw human history as a journey and never stopped traveling and searching. I am a Jew because, being a child of my people, have I heard the call to add my chapter to its unfinished story. The dreams and the hopes of my ancestors live on in me, and I am the guardian of their trust now and for the future. So this then is our story, and this is really our gift to the next generation. I received it from my parents. They received it from theirs across the great expanse of time and generations. There is nothing quite like it. It changed, and it challenges, and it still challenges the moral imagination of humankind. Rabbi Sachs also said, I want to say this to Jews around the world. Take it, cherish it, learn to understand it, and learn to love it. Carry it, and it will carry you. And may you in turn pass it down to future generations. For you are the member of an eternal people. You are a letter in their scroll. And let that eternity of the Jewish people live on and carry on through you. So Rosh Hashanah, and in fact really the whole high holiday season, is about having hope. It's about making choices. It's about seeing where we've messed up over the years and trying to do better, but it's really about choices. We don't think that God's going to make those choices for us. Choices about how we wish to live, for what causes we're willing to fight, and the secret to handling disappointment is really choosing how to respond to it. We can either let our disappointments defeat us, we've all faced them, or we can use them to grow stronger and to grow wiser. We can choose to face our disappointments with courage, determination, with hope. And when we do that, I am sure that we're going to find that we're stronger and wiser than we ever thought possible. So my message to you really on this Rosh Hashanah is don't give up on your dreams, no matter what challenges are thrown into your path. Don't give up on hope. Keep going even when things in your life are tough. And we all face difficult times. With courage and with hope, together we can overcome any disappointment. And being part of a community is really a big part of doing that. You know, if you come to shul every Shabbos and sit and have kiddush together and schmooze and sing over some whitefish and the best peanut butter cookies in Atlanta, you get a sense of Kehillah Kadoshah, a sacred community. You get a sense of togetherness, and that you feel connected to the Jewish people everywhere, that you're not going to get by being online. I know there's probably a couple hundred cameras online as well, but there's no substitute for being here. Real change in life and getting through disappointment is a long, slow process that's made up of many small steps. And I pray that all of us can take those small steps today, continue to do a little bit more each and every day, and then it will indeed be a Shana Tova. Amen.